So as you probably are all aware, there are 5 candidates for position 1. 5 people running and 1 seat open. And then 1 seat open for position 3 and 4 people running. We seem to be a little short on candidates. A couple in position 3, I don't know what happened. They RSVP'd, but I asked Senator Anderson if he could step in. I'm sure you could. His mouth's full though. Oh yes, hi, great. Oh, sorry, that's okay. We wouldn't start without you. Well, we almost did, but. So we've had quite a few questions come in from chamber members. So hopefully I'll get to your question if you submitted one. But if not, the candidates I'm sure will stick around to answer any of those specific questions. So candidates, you will have 90 seconds to answer the questions. And Lucinda, can you raise your hand and your papers so they'll know? 60 seconds, yellow, 90 seconds, red, and she'll have the timer going. Thank you for doing that, Lucinda. That's not stressful, is it? Wait. So, yeah, all right, let's go ahead and get started. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask a question of position 1, one of the candidates from position 1, and the same question from a candidate from position 3. So our first question is for Walter Chuck, position 1, and Brian Parker, position 3. So the question is, with the passing of short-term rental 2103, how do you anticipate this affecting the county? And if elected, how would you offset that deficit? Is your mic working?
Yeah, sorry.
Great.
Thanks for everybody for being here, number one, and thanks for all the candidates for showing up. With the ballot measure being passed, right now there's parts of it are going through LUBA, and there are parts that the county can enact now, and so I would see that the county would enact those parts right now as soon as they could, and then as soon as LUBA field work on and get those to be added to the roll. And right now, as far as the unincorporated areas where these STRs are, we'll have to see what the budget impacts are and see what the offsets. We do have quite a bit of STRs in incorporated areas, and those would not be affected by that. And so we'll have to make up the shortcoming and see if we can make up those revenues from other places. And like I said, it's just a budget issue, and we'll see how those pan out. Thanks.
All right, thank you. All right, Ryan, do you
We
need
get
the
the
question
easy
repeated?
questions right out of the gate.
I know.
Answers that
Free
will
us up all.
satisfy everyone in this room, I promise.
Hi, yes, my name is Greg Holland. I'm the mayor of Newport.
Greg, you have the next question.
Who's
Sorry.
next? I'm sorry. No, Parker. Parker's
Other side.
Greg's the mayor of Newport.
Thanks for being here, Greg. I'm glad you could be here. Mayor Walport.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll kind of bounce back and forth.
Oh, okay.
Well, regardless of what people think about STRs, we know that we need the county to provide hundreds, possibly thousands of units. So we'll probably hear a question about that later. But the Land Use Board of Appeals is in a very tenuous position right now. They could rule, and one side of it would be the voter intent was, close to 60% in favor of the ordinance, in favor of the ballot measure, and then the business side of it. And so I can't honestly answer except to say that there needs to be a reasonable compromise that preserves neighborhood livability, work on some sewer code enforcement for the septic issues. And then we don't know how long this litigation could occur after the LUBA decision. So to say that I know what could be done, other than honoring the will of the voters, I would say we have to see what LUBA's how they're gonna rule. That's not a great answer, but that's kind of where we're at, I think. I do feel that the livability component of neighborhoods that have a lot of STRs in them are real issues and need to be addressed through maybe a different ordinance structure until we get a legal opinion from the state.
All right, thank you. Oh, that's not my phone.
He hit it right on the nose.
Oh, that was the timer. Good. All right, so Greg, now's your
now
turn.
it's Greg's turn.
All right. This next question is for Greg, position 1, and Mark Watkins, position 3. So, we all know we had our challenges during the Echo Mountain fire evacuation. If elected, how would you improve the emergency management system in Lincoln County?
Well, I think, first of all, I'm Greg Holland, the mayor of Walpole. Finally. That's basically a job with no pay and no benefits and a full-time job. So I've been working on that for the past 2 years, and I've been a city councilman for 12 years. I think we learned a lot through that devastating period. We've learned that the emergency management system didn't work at all. I think we need to build on our emergency system to bring all the emergency people together and to work on a plan to have more emergency signs with evacuation routes, like signs that direct traffic placed outside that could be directional instead of having people having to wave traffic around. That could be permanently placed for emergencies. That would be a way to go, I think, that would help. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So Mark Watkins, do you need the question repeated?
The mic on?
I don't think you're on.
I'll share.
This microphone is warmed up already,
Okay,
so.
yep.
First of all, I want to apologize for being a little bit late. And I also want to take a couple minutes to acknowledge any veterans that we have here. I know there's one over here. Any veterans in the group? Anyway, I'm a big veteran fan, so appreciate what you guys do. So I'm qualified to answer that question. I see my friend Sheriff Dotson here. I want to say that I was there, being captain of the search and rescue team at the Echo Mountain fire. And I also want to preface the fact that I am not a negative person. However, I'm going to ask you guys a question. When you're little kids, what is the first thing you do when you think something might be happening? What's the first thing you turn on and listen to? What were we all taught?
Radio.
Thank you. AM, FM radio. When we were up at the Echo Mountain fire, and I understand that we did not ever have a disaster like this ever. And I also want to preface by saying, because of the courageous events and the courageous activities of all the first responders going door to door, we did not have one loss of life. That was huge. However, we have 18 in one area. This is the actual report of the Echo Mountain fire. Our emergency broadcast system did not work. It was not on. It never worked. We reacted in a reactionary way. We made a call center. Cell phones didn't work. So the first thing we need to do is review this action plan by an independent review agency on the Echo Mountain fire itself, the areas that worked, the areas that didn't work. And I was very concerned because every door we went on, everybody said, "What are you doing here?" They did not know, the citizens didn't know the actual event of the fire, where it was at. Thank God the first responders were brave, and there was no loss of life, but we have issues with our emergency services that we're going to fix.
All right, thank you. Okay, next question. Carter, we're going to jump over you to Casey. Sorry.
Go for it.
This really is random, however it went in my brain. So Casey, Mitch, and Randy, but Randy is not here. Okay, so this will be a Casey and Mitch question. What can the county do to address the housing crisis that it's not currently doing?
Well, I think we can all agree that housing it's a big deal. It's a challenge. It's a problem. I see it in government, being an employee of government when we're trying to recruit. I will say that, this is something that the county can't tackle alone. It is going to have to be a county-wide effort. But one of the areas I would like to see the county focus on first, what I call the lowest hanging fruit, is accessory dwelling units. I think that's just one piece. It's just a slice. It's not the entire thing. But the Deschutes County Planning Commission identified 7,000 possible structures that could be added by loosening restrictions on accessory dwelling units. We need to explore that as well in Lincoln County. And I think that's one area that we can really jump on quickly and see if we can, add more homes, more structures, more. I could see myself potentially having a small place to put my in-laws. We're getting close to that time. Short-term rentals, I do think that there is a slice there, and the determination of LUBA and what eventually the county will do, whether it's, anyways, STRs are a slice, and we'll have to see how that turns out. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do you need the question repeated, Mitch?
Yeah, if you'll read it again, please.
All right. What can the county do to address the housing crisis that it's not currently doing?
Okay, well first I'd say that we keep saying that housing is an emergency and a crisis, but we don't treat it as such. We've seen how we treat emergencies over the last couple of years with COVID, and I think we could approach housing in a similar way to put all of our resources behind it and get some action on it. Just some smaller things. I think we can look at some code and zoning issues and maybe see where we can lower hurdles for development. I think we need to work with our cities for larger projects, given that they have the infrastructure, such as sewer and water, already available. Here in Lincoln City, recently we've made several code amendments to address some lesser regulations, such as off-street parking, common areas, and design standards. And I think we could look at similar things in the county. Currently here in town, we also have almost 150 units in development review. All of that is going to be affordable housing through partnerships that the city made with some private partners to get 107 units of affordable housing going into 25th Street. And then part of Housing Authority of Lincoln County is looking at a 40-unit project up here in the North County also. So I think continuing to work with those nonprofit partners is really how we're going to make headway on this issue.
All right, thank you. Ryan, do you want to take that for position 3 as well?
The question was what's not being done on housing?
Yes. What can the county do that's not already being done?
Well, I think without the inside perspective, I can't be certain, but I think one thing we can do is look at housing on land the county already owns and see if there's any buildable lots that we could develop or the Planning Commission won't like me saying this, but densify Salmon Run and some of the other county housing and work with the Lincoln County Housing Authority to structurally see, to preserve the spatial feeling of those developments, but also look to see if there's other units that can be remodeled or built without displacing anyone. I know in a big housing complex, it's hard to remodel it without, affecting quality of life, but there have to be units there available to add to that footprint, because especially in Newport, there's a lot of flat land that the Housing Authority has, and that is priceless property that we could add units there and not have to have people. I mean, we don't have a plan B for them, so we can't displace them while we remodel, but there's got to be a flex there where we can get more units built in the similar footprint, and then countywide a buildable lands inventory that dredge up what has been done before, put some, update it and get those lots out there and try to get as many developers as possible to buy in.
All right, thank you. All right, next question. Carter, we're coming back to you. I didn't forget you. So Carter for position 1 and Katie Jacobson for position 3. Yay! So Newport is a port district which allows them to bring in different sources of revenue through taxes, service fees, bonds, and grants. If elected, how would you better support the fishing fleet in Depot Bay and help them offset some of the big costs associated with fishing?
Great. Well, fishing is one of the biggest parts of our community, as we all know. Our economy is made up of the fishing industry, timber industry, and tourism, and other things, but those are the three big ones. And it is vital that we protect all of these industries. Fishing, to protect our ports, I think that, well, Katie's gonna knock this out of the park. She writes grants and she's a biologist, but a marine biologist. So that's a tough question to put me up against, but I appreciate it. I just think doing everything we can to protect our way of life, as supporting our fishermen in the community, maybe talking to them and seeing their grievances and seeing what we can do to make that our ports always be sustainable, so it can continue to be a part of our economy that helps us thrive. And then the part about Depot Bay, what was that piece?
Just how would you support them in their high costs, such as gas that they buy on the docks?
Well, I think there could be incentives for tax breaks and things like that, but Depot Bay is one of the most beautiful ports in the world, and I think that we need to do everything we can to help them curb those high costs as well. But.
All right, thank you. Katie needs a mic.
There we go. Okay. Yes, so commercial fishing is our second largest earned income sector in Lincoln County. My background is in fisheries, as Carter acknowledged. So the biggest thing the fleet needs is their infrastructure. Super critical. I believe David Gomberg and Senator Anderson helped them get money to replace docks. And my guess is with increasing construction costs, they're probably short. So that would be an immediate need, is help them come up with that shortage from a couple of years ago so they can actually cut the project. Dredging is also a constant thing needed for all ports. And dredging dollars, and dredging is actually sucking out the sand and mud so you can get your boat in, is something that a lot of small ports struggle with, even larger ports like Newport. But I think the other thing is we are in a changing climate. And I'm not going to get into fisheries policy in 2 minutes, but it's very complicated. And they need regulatory flexibility so that they can adapt to a changing climate. When it gets too hot in the ocean and the fish move north up into Canada, they don't have a permit to catch fish in Canada. So there's a lot of regulatory barriers that prevent them from being flexible. And that's an issue I've kind of always worked on and helped them with. The last thing I will say is we are in a Bureau of Ocean Energy Management leasing process for offshore wind, actually on the south coast, but fishermen fish everywhere. And so that is an issue I'm involved in and watching, is trying to make sure that we can do offshore wind, but do it in a way that doesn't impact our fleet. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, so moving on. Next question is for Walter Chuck, position 1, and Ryan Parker, position 3. So this should interest all of you in the room too. Now that Lincoln City has surpassed 10,000 population, everybody know that? Yeah, I know, we're so excited. And is essentially the same size as Newport. If elected, how would you ensure equitable services such as sheriff and health and human services for the North County?
Well, congratulations to getting to 10,000 people. I saw that in the PSU study. We have the sheriff right here. I think we would look at maybe having a satellite station up here. Once we get his deputies fully staffed, I think that's one of the main issues. The county is short-staffed. Without working to get the county fully staffed, I think the services will lag. So I think that would be the number one priority as a commissioner and working with the county manager. We do need to come up here and look at bringing some of the offices up here. And that goes for not just sheriff, but also health and human services and also some of the senior services. That's a part of the population of Lincoln County that doesn't get enough notoriety, and I think we need to make sure that these people on fixed incomes are able to access county services up here without having to come to Newport. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, do you need the question repeated?
No, I think I got it. So I agree 100% with parity and equality between the two larger cities in the county, but let's not forget the rest of Lincoln County. Silet, Logsdon, Elk City, all the other places that make Lincoln County special and very diverse. And so I think having a strategic plan to balance cost and staffing of each county services area, like the county services that are up by the DMV there, and the ones that are in central Newport, making sure that, to Walter's point, that veterans don't have to drive to Newport to get services. They can get them here in North County, and that also serves the people in Otis as well. Having those two campuses, making sure that they're equally staffed and looking at services to South County as well. And really, anytime a government is dividing its services among neighborhoods, there needs to be outreach and partnerships to work with Lincoln City as much as possible. Speaking of which, I'm quite excited about that new Pelican Brewery coming in.
Oh, we all are.
What of you, huh?
We can't wait for that ribbon cutting, I tell you. All right, next question is for Casey Miller, position 1, and Mark Watkins, position 3. So the question is, if elected, how would you ensure that the North Lincoln County schools, because it is all about us in North Lincoln County, how would you ensure the schools have the same opportunities as Newport? For example, Newport students have had the Isaac Newton Magnet School, the Newport High International Baccalaureate Program, and many more, yet Taft has never had any of these options.
Okay, well, the county does not have jurisdiction over the school district, so, those are completely different decision-making bodies. We don't have any effect really on the budget, so, but I think if we can collaborate, I think the community, if it feels like its voice is not being heard directly to the school district, of course, they can communicate to the commission. We can work with another governing body and talk about interests, especially if any community is feeling that its interest is being diminished. And I would say, I call this the sphere of influence of the county. Where we may not have direct governance, we can be advocates. A commissioner can be an advocate. We can write letters of support. We can help bridge the gap if there are misconceptions or concerns. But for this specific question, I don't see us as having, really a heavy hand in influencing that particular circumstance. So, thank you. That would be the end of my response.
All right, thank you.
I'm going to echo kind of what Casey said, because the primary responsibility of a commissioner is allocating funds through the budget. But that's not the only responsibility. I would consider the commissioners a community advocate. So while we don't have direct impact, maybe somebody might want to run for the school board, there might be a chance here, but we don't have direct impact on the policies that a local school board would have. However, I would consider myself a community advocate, regardless of my position. The door is always going to be open. Somebody might not know where to go that lives in Lincoln City that has issues with the school board. I will direct them. And I do think that being the highest chain of command, if you will, as a county commissioner, we have a responsibility for all facets of the community, whether it be lacks of education or even roads, city roads. Somebody might not know where to go to talk about the road. We're going to help them. So being a county commissioner, you have more of a responsibility of just being a county commissioner. You are an all-around community advocate that needs to be in the community, that probably perhaps would go to school board meetings to get the feel of the overlay of the county, of the school board, what their issues are, how they can help as far as advocacy, maybe direct somebody to where they need to go, or policy direction, or even help with it in Salem. However we can do that, we are there to help in all facets of the community.
All right, thank you. So next question is for Mitch, Carter, and Katie. So the question is, how can the county better help address the child care crisis?
Child care crisis. All right, this is a tough one, and I'm just going to be honest and tell you that I currently don't know how the county can help address this issue, aside from maybe some incentives for providers. A lot of child care seems to come from the state level when it comes to restrictions, and I think we need to continue to collaborate with our representatives to get movement on that issue. That's one of the reasons I left the workforce, was to be a stay-at-home dad due to the lack of child care here in town. It made no sense to me to work a full-time job just to give all that money to somebody else when I could be at home with my children. I was very fortunate enough to be in that position. Here in Lincoln City, we have started offering an after-school program called Rec Kids, and we do adventure camps during spring break and the summer season. That gives some Monday through Friday, kind of the 8 to 5 help that a lot of people do need for the younger kids. We recently opened a teen center also that gives our older kids somewhere to go, and we have a program called Junior Child Care Leader Program that if you're a high school student, you can join in, gets all your certifications, and it gets you your community hours and helps you learn the child care business. And so just kind of pushing through with similar programs like that at different levels and bringing those ideas to more people. I think we're going to be able to see some more child care here in the county.
All right, thank you.
All right. Well, that's a great answer. Actually, I was gonna say incentivize. I totally agree. Incentivize child care providers. Maybe they can. We can see more of them in the community to subsidize that problem. And a lot of that policy is made at the state level. And I think putting pressure in and being a lobbyist of sorts at that level is another thing that we can do. But in the end, there is a lot of benefit that programs like after-school programs can provide, and even businesses setting up, and supporting these things could be a great help. And here in the Chamber of Commerce, I know we're all business people here, and we can help with that too.
All right, thank you.
I will just say that when I first started as a commissioner, I still had a child in diapers, so oh my God, have I lived this, both with my permanent kids and also with foster kids. This is one of these issues where we don't have direct control, but I think we have partnership, influence, and creativity is one of the things I'm working on right now. So I have grant requests in to work on a robust kind of marketing campaign on becoming an in-home child care provider. A lot of the larger child care facilities don't pencil without a subsidy, and it is our in-home child care providers that are the glue that make this working. So working right now with Dave Price from Oregon Coast Community College on trying to start up a big marketing campaign to recruit people to be in-home providers, paired up with classes they are offering that get people to be providers. And then working with foundations to get kind of a navigator. So if you say, yes, I want to be an in-home provider, and you take Dave's class and you're like, never mind, this is scary. You have a navigator to kind of help you get through that process of getting the licensing and certification. And then additionally working with Senator Anderson and David Gomberg to clear out some of the regulatory barriers that we have had at the state level, and including requiring in-home providers to have a sprinkler system, which was a huge barrier, but that one was resolved. So I actually do feel really hopeful, like that maybe we're kind of on the cusp of solving this. I also have talked to the state and early learning division and put put us on sort of a wait list to maybe be a pilot for a co-location of a child care facility with affordable housing.
All right, great, thank you. Okay, next question for you, Greg, Mayor of Walport. And then it was going to be Randy. Mark, why don't we go with you on this one? Lincoln City is more reliant on tourism than most Lincoln County communities. If elected, how would you better support the tourism industry in North County?
Okay, before I get to that question, I just wanted to tell you part of my campaign is based on, I want Lincoln City to be part of county government. So I plan on opening an office up here in Lincoln City where I'll be present so you can come in and see me and be part of county government. Because in South County, we feel like we're not part of county government either. We feel left out. So I want you to know that I will be present and part of Lincoln City if I'm elected. And we're a tourist community too in Walport. I work with the Chamber of Commerce down there. It's an integral part of city government. I'm involved. Next Friday we're having, I always get this wrong, beach, bikes, and beers on next Saturday. I'll be working all day with the Chamber doing that. I'm postponing my campaign, 1 to 7. Come down, we're having great beer, music, and cookouts, and I'm running out of time. I'll help your tourism. I want it to be part of county government. We'll form partnerships with the Chamber. I'll be at all your meetings. I want to be part of the economic growth. There's so many things we can do together. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I too, having 3 restaurants in the county for 14 years, and I'm a longtime member of the Newport Chamber, I've always liked the model that the chambers bring, because you've got so many involved for one goal. You have the apex up here, what is the goal? And then through that goal, from the bottom up, you determine problems. Why, for example, and then why is our tourism down this year? Well, we had a pandemic, or we had a fire, or one of my serious issues is I am old enough to remember when Cape Foulweather caved in, and that was bad. That was bad for our whole county, that was bad for our whole economy, that was really bad for tourism. I am very concerned about 101 right now, so we'll talk about that later. So anyway, back to the model. The model that the chambers have in place, and it's worked forever, is a good model, I've always thought, for the county commissioners. Not from the top down, but from the boots up. We have all of these festivals and all these wonderful events to get to tourism over here in our county, and then you collect the data, what worked, what didn't work, and then you repair those problems that didn't work, and then you enhance the ones that did. So I want to make sure that the room tax and you guys in the chambers are funded, because you guys are the apex of the community and the business community as our local chambers. And I want to make sure you guys are working. I want to help assist the chambers in problems that they might have, and goals that they might have, and problems in achieving. My leadership skills would help you guys do that. So I think the county commissioners have a very serious part in the local chambers of commerce.
Good answer. Love that chamber in there. All right, so the last 2 questions, or maybe we'll have time for another one, but I want everybody to answer because it is important. And this question came in early. It was the first question that we got. So Walter, we'll start with you and we'll go just straight down the line. So the question is, please tell us what the last community meeting or event you attended in North Lincoln County was, or if you live in North Lincoln County, what was the last event or meeting you attended in South Lincoln County that was not campaign related? Good question.
Can you repeat that one more time?
Tell us what the last community meeting or event you attended in North Lincoln County, or if you live in North Lincoln County, what was the last meeting or event you attended in South Lincoln County? So basically,
Physical or virtual?
how much do you get around? That's what we want to know. It's not campaign related. But there again, it's about us. So how much do you come to the North County if you live in South County?
Was that physical or virtual? That's actually a pretty good question.
Physical.
Physical? South County, I would probably have to say an OPAC meeting, and I can't remember when. In North County, honestly, I can't say. So
Okay.
I'm not going to try and gloss it over.
So I guess part of this question would be, where do you live?
I live in Newport.
Okay.
I live in Newport. I did travel quite a bit before the pandemic through OPAC, port meetings and so forth, and I did manage to get around quite a bit of the county, but I had not been up here. And South County, like I said, we had some outreach meetings for ocean policy meetings. And we did not have any up here, and that's it. I'm not going to try and gloss it over. And I have not spent much time up here in the last 4 or 5 years. So thanks.
Okay, great, thank you.
You turned it off? Okay, first of all, I was sworn in as a CASA volunteer. I don't know if you know what CASA is. It's a court-appointed special advocate for youth in your foster care system. I brought my friend Missy Alberti Araujo with me. Can you stand up, Missy? She's the leader now of Lincoln County's system. If you have some time, please join it, because there's a lot of kids in foster care. What you do is you go to court and represent the child. Nobody speaks for the child except CASA. I'm volunteering my time for that program. And you go through like a month of training, and then about 10 hours a month, go to court. So I volunteered for that. I got sworn in, and it's a great program. If you have time, do it, okay?
All right, well, I'm going to start by saying I love the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, everybody. I have not been to a meeting in Lincoln City or South County for, not that I can't remember one, but again, I love the Chamber of Commerce.
Let's see, not exactly a meeting. One of my last touch points here was delivering rhododendrons for landscaping with love to Otis, and then staying in Lincoln City and seeing Santa Claus. Not really a meeting, but really appreciate that at Sea Dogs.
Well, I live in North County, so I guess you're asking what I've done in South County. Let's see. Last Tuesday, I had a Housing Authority of Lincoln County meeting in Tillamook. We're back in person, so that was fun. And this past Saturday, I went down and helped Heidt do their beach/town cleanup. They don't got much of a beach, so it was more cleaning up their town.
All right, thank you.
So one of the things when I ran for office the first time that I heard, and I heard all of you, was wanting more of a presence up in North Lincoln County. And so I've pretty much consistently been up here, other than we have had stay-home orders. So I was here Saturday for this Let's Bay Music Festival fundraiser, which was awesome, by the way. The kids were amazing. I had coffee with Roger this morning. There you go, we had coffee together. And then I ran up to Otis to go see Panther Creek Community Center and Landscaping with Love. And then I changed my clothes in Representative Gomberg's bathroom. True story. And here I am. And then I am in Walport, Heidt's next week, seeing the White Wolf Sanctuary and having lunch with the new City of Heidt's manager.
Great, thank you.
It's a fair question. We have a long lateral north-south county here, and so I fully agree with spreading our time and resources around. I guess my challenge to answer this question is I wear a couple hats in the county here as a city councilor and as a park ranger, and so I spend a lot of time up here doing resource protection for my job on the beach and in the parks, but I most recently was up here for the Wash the Shore Project's symposium, where Representative Gomberg, Senator Anderson, and the Prices put out a great event talking about the elephant in the room in our oceanic system of plastic pollution. And so I'm a big advocate to work towards large-scale solutions for that problem. I spent a lot of time at the Otis car charger that Pacific Power put in by the Otis Market there. It's a really nice one. You can charge your car in 20 minutes. And kudos to Pacific Power for being fair and putting those new next generation chargers in smaller communities like Otis Madras, Klamath Falls, and other places of the state. And then I have attended in the past a few Roads End Improvement Associations meetings, albeit it was for work. That's my honest answer.
Well, we appreciate honesty. Thank you for that. I can tell you, if you're not on the city council, if you're not a current county commissioner, this question is really bad. Okay, they have a huge advantage. I appreciate everything that the mayors and the city council, you guys are up and about. My last official meeting, I lived up here during the Otis fires for 3.5 days until that was gone. But my last official meeting was probably a financial budget meeting with my wife at the outlet malls. That was probably my last official meeting. But I can tell you that Salishan is a special place, Lincoln City is a special place, we're up here a lot. Stimulating the economy, so that's what we do, so we love Lincoln City. The last meeting I was at was probably the Board of Commissioners meeting. Ever since, unfortunately, I had a good job, lost it during the COVID pandemic, and I've been paying lots of attention to local politics on the city and the county level. So that's the last meeting I've been at, and I'll be at the one tomorrow.
Great, thank you. All right, so now we're going to ask a housing question, or a homeless question. So if elected, how would you address that problem? Walter, let's start with you and just go straight down the line again.
Sure. This is actually a difficult question. Number one, the county doesn't have a lot of space to address the homeless situation. We would need to reach out to the cities and also the county people and also state and federal officials. And number one, we need to ask ourselves, do we have the will to address the situation? And that's going to cost funds. And right now, as far as whether it's raising rates and fees for the county to help pay for that, I hate to say it, but there are such things as ballot measures to fund this. If we're not serious about raising the funds to address this situation, we're going to keep kicking the can down the road. So, if elected, I would look at that and bring all those solutions to the table. And it's a hard question, and it's a very easy one to ask. How are you going to solve it? But number one is funds, and what are we willing to do to step up and address this situation? So, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I meet regularly with the other mayors in Lincoln County, and we've come up with sort of a plan that we're tentatively working on, but I've been threatened with death if I disclose any details of it right now. But if that falls through, I'd like to see a small unit community set up for those who want to transition out of homelessness and have counseling and training and services there provided for them at that place. And a lot of services are being provided for the homeless right now. We have the LEADS program, which is being given to them, which is an alternative to going to jail with the through the sheriff's department, is kind of cooperating with that, which I really appreciate that. We're having a lot of success with that in Walport. It's an alternative to going to jail. They receive counseling and services if they desire, instead of being arrested. And I'd like to make that a permanent county program. It's a grant-funded program right now. And there's so much more we could do along that lines. And but there's also the problem we have. A lot of the homeless don't want to be transitioned out of the homeless problem. We need to deal with that community too.
Great. Well, this has been a problem for all of human history, and that's why it's such a difficult question to answer. There are loving ways to take care of this issue, and there are many things that we can try. There is a sleeping bag swap program that I've always liked, where the homeless can bring a rattered and tattered sleeping bag and turn it in for a new one. And if they want to do this, I think that we do need funds, and I think that we need caseworkers that can be assigned to these people if they would like to do that. And these caseworkers can check in with these people and help them to either transition out or to find a better solution. Or if, like you said, there are people that don't want out of the situation, that needs to be, that problem is a kind of a separate problem, but I think that also the root of the issue needs to be taken care of as well. But I think that a loving way to do this would be assigning caseworkers to these people and helping them in whatever situation they find themselves in.
Well, one thing that is important to frame is the county does not have a direct service model. I mean, we can explore that if we want to as a community. County services, I would argue, does help the stress in this area. We have mental health services. We have physical health services. We provide nutrition to families as well. So, by nature of the service profile, county is helping the situation in some ways. But, I wonder if maybe a straw vote, something like this, isn't something that we might look into to really find out how committed this community is to working on the issue. Because I do feel like we're very concerned about it, but how are we going to collaboratively approach it and find out who is really willing to put assets to move it forward. Now, the county has in the past provided shelter at the county commons, for example, during cold weather. So, I think we need to have a community discussion about how to tackle it and then identify where the funding is going to come from. So, more work to be done. Thank you.
Can you read it again?
If elected, how would you address the housing homeless crisis?
All right. Well, that's a tough one because there's lots of issues why people are homeless. First and foremost, I'd say that as a county, we need emergency shelters. That's a start. We don't have any of that anymore. And so just getting people off the street in the cold, or out of the cold, and let them know what resources are available sometimes is a great first step. Here in Lincoln City, I always like to point to something that we've actually done. We've gone into partnership with an organization to have a transitional housing project that should be opening at the end of this summer. And it's a group that provides wraparound services at the shelter. It's not just a warming shelter, it's a place that you're going to be able to live, help work through your issues, and hopefully get you back on your feet, get a job, and move on to the next level of housing, which is going to be more of that low-income housing. So.
Well, I think the short answer is, every way you can. One of the things I have done since being a commissioner is opening up our juvenile department to take kids that are not justice involved. When I got to the county, we typically only had 2 kids in our shelter, and we have a huge homeless youth population in our community, so we have opened that up, and not just to youth, but also to young adults 18 to 20. So now we have a true youth homeless shelter in our community, which we didn't have before. And additionally, trying to work on getting money to remodel that facility so that we basically have more beds for our 18 to 20-year-olds in a supportive housing environment. I also think when we talk about supportive housing, which provides those supports for people living there, that requires a nonprofit to do that work, to provide the support. And I feel like we need to help our nonprofits be able to take those projects on. So more training, and the county has started this, but more training on grants management, on budgeting, on board development, so that they feel comfortable taking on these large projects and doing that supportive work. I think that's something the county has done a little bit of, but could certainly do more of. I think actually the funding's not the barrier. I think it's the capacity to actually do the work. There was a grant just this week that came out from the Oregon Office of Emergency Management for emergency warming and cooling shelters. I sent it to all the mayors. Pretty easy grant, but again, it's that capacity of who would actually take the money and do the work.
Randy, thanks for joining us. Glad to see you.
Thank you. Glad to be here. Sorry I'm late. I guess on the homeless issue, what I would say is it starts with humanitarian effort. You've got to have compassion when you're addressing people on the streets, but you also have to have intelligence. And I think that's one of the things that's been lacking in the approach across the country, actually, to how we deal with homelessness. We're treating them as a group of people, homeless, yeah. But there are several different reasons how people and why people find themselves on the streets. We first have to treat people as individuals, find out their why. Why are they on the streets, and how can we help them directly? There is no blanket approach. I think the shelter first approach has proven itself to be a kind of a failure if you look at the results around the country, LA, San Francisco, allowing people to sleep on the streets. I fail to see the compassion in that. I don't see how leaving the people in that situation is compassion in any way, shape, or form. So I believe, obviously I'm not a homelessness expert. I watch some PragerU videos, and I try to learn what I can, but I think we need to get with the experts, find out what does work, what doesn't work, audit the programs, and find the results that show promise, and focus our efforts on those. And again, for that we have great people in the county that are experts. We get with them. I see the right part. So.
All right, thank you.
Well, I guess I agree with a lot of what's been said, but I'm out there cleaning these camps up myself and posting them when they're on public lands. So I guess my perspective is a little bit different. But Randy's absolutely right. That it's not a homogeneous population. You have people living in their cars and their RVs. And around the county, the RV abandonment issue is becoming a huge problem for law enforcement. We need to come up with some state funds for that one. I'm looking at David over there. Parity for all 36 counties, of course. So when I'm out in the landscape, some of them are moving through. Some live that lifestyle. Some don't want to be there. A lot of them do work, and we need to recognize that they are trying to make things better for themselves and their families. But the county already offers, to Casey's point, a blended services umbrella. Keying in veteran-specific services, of course, is very important. When it comes to the people in tents, though, there is a personal responsibility element, especially when and their safety is important too when they're camped in the rights of way. I'd like to see the church community here in the county step up and host more car campers that, through a reasonable policy. At the city, we send out a thing, and we didn't get a whole lot of nibbles. But neighborhoods aren't the setting. But neighborhoods can be compassionate neighbors and help the populations around the county, and we can all push for a living wage to help the people that are struggling to find rent.
I'm not sure being down here is an advantage, but I think the general theme here, and I appreciate what everybody said about compassion. I want to be realistic. I'm running for government office, I think. Relationships are more important to me than any government office. So this is not a government issue. I think the government can help. This is a humanitarian issue. And every one of us that live in our communities have a responsibility to help our fellow citizen. Whether they're homeless, they're starting a new restaurant, they're opening up a bed and breakfast, we're here to help. I always carry around my daily leadership skills. And the number one is seek all day for opportunities to help people, not for your own personal gain. So I'm going to look at a different approach here. This is not a government issue. There are many, many models out there. I was reading a book by an expert in this field, and the Greeley, Colorado mayor promised to solve this problem. And he went out and he actually lived with the homeless people for a long time. And he found out there's two camps. The people are living in tents and shelters. They want to be left alone. That might be a mental health issue. And I really wish, this is a side note, I really wish our county would have hired a psychiatrist instead of a county administrator. We need mental health help. There's lots of these people that need help. They don't know where to go. Number two, the people that are living in transitory, in their cars, in their campers, those people are working. We need to help them. We do need to get our churches more involved because they're churches. Their theme is to love people. We need all the help. We need round tables. I'm done. I guess I'm getting off my microphone. That's kind of cool. So anyway, these are people that need our help. Thank you.
All right, one more question for all of you. And this one came in early too. A lot of people had interest in this. What is the most important job, in your opinion, of a county commissioner?
Well, the most important job is to represent the people of the county. And that,
Make the mic behave, is that it?
make the mic, well, have someone else go first, too. Basically represent the whole county. You represent all 40, close to 50,000 people now, and that doesn't just mean the people that voted for you. It means everybody, whether they voted for you or not, whether they live in Lincoln City, Otis, out there in Nashville, Harlan, or whatever. And I will make the time to go out there and talk to those people. I do have signs up in Eddyville, I have signs up in all over the place, and I do have acquaintances all over the county. And I think it's very important that not just talking and giving lip service to the people, is actually getting out there and meeting with the people. And so I think that's the main thing, is being seen and being part of that community.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, the reason I'm running for this job is because I love Lincoln County. I've loved Walport I've been here 16 years. I love this place, that place. I've been in city government for 14 years. I've done it for free. I just do it because I love the place. And I just want to give back to the community. I think there's a lot of things we can change in county government, and I think we can do it through getting more grants. I think we can do it through working together. I think that we can do it through partnerships with the city mayors. I know all the city mayors really good because we meet regularly for breakfast, and they just want to chase us out of restaurants lots of times because we spend so much time talking there and working out things and listening to each other about what's going on in the cities and the problems we have and the successes we have. I just want to work for the people of Lincoln County, and I want us to look out for each other. I think that's the most important part of being a county commissioner, is that we look out for each other and care for each other. Thank you.
The most important duty of a county commissioner is to spend the taxpayers' dollars wisely and with great discernment. And also breaking down budgets and allocating resources effectively. I have recently earned my Master's in Business Administration from Willamette University in Salem, and this degree is going to give me a great base to know how to do this. I know how to break down budgets. I've run businesses, and I think that the greatest responsibility is to be a good steward of our taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to give you kind of a maybe blasé answer, but there's some depth here. And I would argue that being present each week at the county commissioners meeting will show you what a Swiss Army knife, sorry Katie,
You stole it.
that a county commissioner is.
My turn.
So each week the commissioners meet, right, 48 times a year roughly. But I would ask anyone, take a look at that agenda. Look at those documents that are processed. The signatures of county commissioners, the breadth and depth of the decision making across a variety of disciplines is truly astounding. So that in itself, even though it might seem rather routine, underneath, when you look at that agenda, is the heartbeat of an organization that reaches really deeply across so many industries, across so many disciplines. And so I sort of see a commissioner as an executive chef, but also head of the house at the same time. A commissioner needs to make sure that everybody gets a great dinner, a great meal, that coordinates everyone to do that, but also makes sure that everybody is at the table for that tremendous meal. So it's quite complex, really. And thank you.
All right, I'll give you a simple one. I got a 1A and a 1B kind of for this one. 1A is going to be to provide the state and federal mandated services in a fiscally responsible way. And then the 1B for me, which is probably my 1A, is it's going to be my job to be there for the citizens, listening to you and your concerns, and being there to help you understand how and why the county makes the decisions that they do on your behalf. I think a lot of times we get a lot of headlines and don't get the meat of the actual issue, and so we just make snap decisions or judgments off of those headlines without really understanding the full scope and limitations that those decisions were made under. So I think just being there, out and about in events like I try to do now as part of City Council, being able to explain what's going on in a timely manner before we make decisions gives you a better chance to give your input to us.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so statutorily, it is the budget, but if you only showed up for budget committee meetings, you would not be doing your job. It's also providing those mandated services, but it's mostly staff that do those. I have on occasion been known to plow a road during snow, because I really like to do that. So sorry, East County, if your roads look like crap during the last snow, that was probably me. But I think, thank you, Casey, for stealing my line. But yes, a good county commissioner is like being a Swiss Army knife. I say it over and over again. There isn't one thing. You manage, you provide leadership internally and externally, you do work reviews because you do manage departments, you advocate, you cheerlead, you solve problems, you are the complaint window, you deal with conflict. You make connections and relationships to help your county. I personally write grants. It's not something a lot of county commissioners have skills or expertise in, but I do that. You respond to emergencies. You transform into what the community needs from you. Sometimes they need someone to come look at their broken culvert, so I go and do that, and I learn about culverts. Sometimes they need an expert in how to transfer roads, so I bring staff in so we can do that when we transferred Logan Road. Sometimes they need a wildfire recovery specialist, which I had never done before, but I transformed into that role. So you really have to have the skills and the ability to learn and transform into whatever the community needs, and I think that's the number one thing, is adaptability, even though there is some statutorial obligations.
All right. The number one responsibility, in my opinion, is to be a facilitator as a county commissioner. Nobody on the stage here, nobody in the room would expect anybody on the stage to be an expert in all things. However, we have departments and we have department heads. They all have missions. They're highly qualified for what they do. And we need to help them by facilitating whatever they need to do their jobs properly, to help them reach the fullest potential within themselves and within the agencies that they work for, and try to help people. So whether it's businesses, whether it's schools, whether it's the homeless crisis, whatever it is, the county commissioner, our role is to coordinate with federal and state agencies as well as with the general population within the community, and do our very best to help the experts in the fields to get what they need to do, what they need to do to make things better. Of course, there's budgetary and all of the other stuff, and it could be argued the budget would be the biggest responsibility. Without that in place, the county doesn't operate properly. But overall, I think it's kind of like being a good parent to everybody in the community. Sometimes you have to tell your kids no when they want something, but you have to give them all they need to reach their fullest potential in life. And I think community, for a county commissioner, it's the same goal for everybody.
Good news down the way, there's a budget committee meeting tonight at 6. So it's tons of fun, I promise. So I was hoping for a timber policy question, but absent that, Lincoln County is sitting on a gold mine of timber innovations that I would throw my weight behind in 10 seconds if I had the opportunity. Yamhill County's beat us to the punch, and they just sold sustainable Grand Fir to build the new airport roof. And I looked at that property, you can't even see the stumpage, it's done so well. That's what we need in Lincoln County, is better timber. That's the bulk of the East County's living wage jobs, so there's that. I would advocate for that at the state level. I also think that the commission needs to put their thumb down a little bit more on direct services to residents. Potholes, marking the emergency access routes to the east part of the county in the event of Cascadia. We need to do better with marking roads. Potholes, road department work. We need to better staff that department to do invasive plant control, which reduces our fire risk, and prevention is always cheaper than recovery. I also think that I'm a Gerber guy because Gerber is an Oregon company. And I think we need to, you know, as a combined 3 commissioners, we need to advocate what the county residents' needs are at the legislature, especially during the long season, the long sessions next winter. And I think we need to work on workforce development and advocate to the school board that vocational trade skills should be a bigger priority to help our kids have careers here in Lincoln County. Oh, Randy, you're cramping style there.
That's all right, we're good. So this is the Lincoln County organizational chart. You're not going to see it, but the very top is citizens, which is where it should be. Right underneath that is Board of Commissioners. And right underneath that is all the elected officials and the department heads. This is not going to be successful unless you don't have leadership skills at the very top. I've been in this community since 1981. I've had 3 successful restaurants. I've run multiple organizations. I'm on the Airport Advisory Committee. I'm on the board of South Beach Church. I know how to make leadership skills come to life and get stuff done. It's no easy matter when you talk about the bad news that's been coming out of our courthouse lately. And it's not good news. And I don't like it because this is our home. We have multiple lawsuits, we have tort claims. I want to get in there, I want to find out where the kinks or the hose are, and I want to fix them. You can't have leadership skills if you're not transferable, if you're not open-minded, if you're not accessible to your office, if you don't have an ear to listen and to make judgment decisions based on everybody's best interests so we can stay out of trouble. These lawsuits against our board is not good. The way they treated my friend Abby Dorsey was awful. And I am not a negative person. But this is why everybody is up here to try to make a difference in our county. This is not good news. We're coming out of the pandemic. We need to get work done. We need to get positive policies enacted. We need to change the direction of our county. And we need to get good work done. And whoever this timekeeper is, she is very, very good. And everybody should hire her because she had the most difficult job of anybody. So well done.
Good job, Lucinda. All right, thank you so much. I know those were tough questions. I'm very glad you're up there and I'm down here. So I just throw you the question and stand here and wait for an answer. But thank you very much. How about another big round of applause for everyone? It's going to be a tough decision. I know you've got a couple of other forums coming up. Judy, do you have one from Newport Chamber?
It'll be a virtual. It'll be May 4th.
May 4th.
May 4th, starting at noon.
So I can make a comment on that. So tonight is an environmental forum. Tomorrow is News Times forum. Thursday, Newport Chamber, and then Saturday there's a forum in Yachats as well. So yeah, lots of ways to find out more about us. So it's good. Civics literacy is good.
Yes, it's great. It keeps you very busy, and this job will keep you very busy. So thank you so much for being here. You will, once again, the ballots must be in by May 17th, so hopefully you've got a good idea. Position 1, position 3, you'll be voting for one person in each. I know it's going to be a tough race, but yeah, just encourage everyone to watch all of the forums that you can. Get your ballots back in. If you have any questions about your registration status, just go to the Secretary of State's website.
Actually, Lori, can I correct something really quick?
Of course.
So this year, I would still highly encourage your ballots to be in by the 17th, but this year there's new rules, so they have to be postmarked by the 17th, so they don't actually have to be physically in the clerk's office on the 17th, though I would still highly encourage that, but postmarked by the 17th.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
And I would add to that too, the clerk has a schedule of when they are gonna tally things, so it's gonna be interesting. It's probably gonna drag out a little bit longer, so that's gonna be interesting. But you can find those schedules on the clerk's website, so you can see just when the results are coming in.
All right, thank you very much.
Hey, I'll add to that too.
You said that, get your
Our North
phone
County
there.
drop-off box is there under the city hall, so make sure you get them in there by the 17th.
All right, thank you. So now, the most important thing, raffle prizes. Get out your raffle tickets.